Somaliland, a breakaway semi-autonomous region of Somalia, has introduced a bill outlawing rape, the first piece of legislation to address gender-based violence in the self-declared state. Under the Somaliland Rape and Other Related Offences Bill, all forms of sexual offence would be criminalised, including rape, gang rape, sexual assault, trafficking and child marriage. And rapists who infect their victims with HIV would receive life sentences. The bill has been agreed in the lower house of parliament but still needs approval from the upper house. It is hoped that the bill will be signed by the president on the 1st of March.
En effet, Jerry, jusqu'alors, le Somaliland
is that rapists had two broad options in the region. They paid victims off or were forced to marry their victims. But a new law is proposing up to 30 years imprisonment for the rapists.
Dédommager les victimes et la seconde, celle de les épouser. Mais la nouvelle loi propose une peine d'emprisonnement allant jusqu'à 30 ans pour la personne qui commet donc ce crime.
And joining us now from London, United Kingdom, is Sagala Shaw, Executive Director of the Save International Group. Thank you very much for joining us, Sagal. Sagal, there has been a lot of talk about the new law that could see rapists being sentenced to 30 years in Somaliland. And this is coming barely a month since President Nusi Abdi was sworn in. If passed and finally assented to, can this be a statement that things are now changing in Somaliland? Sagal.
First of all, I would say this law is a working process that's been going on for a long time. And it's not randomly that it's being passed now, but it's the hard work and product of a lot of people who have been promoting these issues for a long time. And this is the fruit of their hard work. It happens to come about on the presidency of Musa. And I think this has been a great opportunity for him to set a new dawn for Somaliland women and their empowerment and what sort of law Somaliland wants to promote and bring about. That being said, I think also one of the things Musa could excel in is to promote the empowerment of Somali women in general by also having more women joining ministerial posts. It's still just 3 women ministerial posts, just like the old administration. And therefore, if he really wants to set a new precedent for the empowerment of Somali women, then really he should go further and appoint more women in ministerial posts.
Do you think the judicial system in Somaliland, supposedly run by people who still follow systems tied around culture and traditions, will be able to deliver criminal prosecution for raped women who are seeking justice? Do you think this is going to be possible?
It doesn't really, it makes it very difficult to define what rape is, and it puts the burden of proof on the victim to prove that a physical assault happened. And rape is not only by consent. Secondly, one of the things that is also vague is the clear definition of what child marriage is, and at what age does it become child marriage or not. But going back to your question, I do agree that the real task is at the implementation level, because it's great that we now have a law that's passed by the lower house, luckily, and hopefully it will be passed by the upper house and by the president to sign it on the 1st of March. However, the real challenge is when this law should be implemented, because as you mentioned, and as people know, the laws in the Horn of Africa, specifically in the northern part of Somalia, is that is statutory law along with traditional law, and sometimes traditional law overrides statutory law. And that is one of the things we are very frightful of, that in this case, how would this law be implemented on the ground? And how would it deal in regards to traditional law, and which one will override the other? These are some of the issues that should be clearly defined by the administration.
Sagal, just to note, Morocco, Egypt and Ethiopia have closed similar legislative loopholes regarding rape. Let us now look at what this could mean for Somaliland women and their fight against sexual violence.
I think it is definitely a milestone for them. And, for example, you mentioned Morocco. Morocco amended their rape law in 2014, and the reason for that was because a young girl committed suicide by drinking rat poison because she was forcibly married in with her rapist. That is a clear sign that you see this challenge of women and gender-based violence. It's felt across the whole of Europe, and it's not only specifically for Somalia. However, going back to your question, this legislation will empower women, and it will enable them to use it as a platform, to use it as a tool, as a mechanism to seek their rights and to seek justice. I would like to point out, however, that most victims of rape are by default from poor areas, are by default internally displaced or have lack of status within the society, hence why they become a victim. And that is actually the situation. So the reason why I'm bringing this point is because we have to bear in mind that the victims of this crime are most likely very vulnerable people within the society, and therefore it's not only enough to pass a law, but what the administration must do is to ensure that they provide mechanism and spaces for these young women to seek protection, to seek medical assistance, to seek compensation, and subsequently also to seek justice.